Hey everyone, thanks for watching right here on YouTube. If you like the deck techs, if you like these decks we're making, consider hitting subscribe. It really helps us out quite a bit. If you want to, you can also go to our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew if you want to help out even more, help make the show directly, get in our Discord chats, and actually help brew the decks with us, which is something we're doing lately. Also, there's other perks. Go check it out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, let's get into today's deck tech. Sean, what are we doing?
The idea for this deck came from my love for Vigilance. It feels so nice to have a big creature that has the ability to attack, and it's like, I could attack anyone on this board. It's bigger than anything. It tramples a bit. How great would it be? But unfortunately, if I didn't have Vigilance, then I have to get the crackback of every one of these other players at the board because my creature is tapped and I cannot block with it. However, if I got Vigilance, I can just be like, yeah, where do I got a profitable attack? Oh, you? Sure. I don't even have to think about it. I'm going to attack. Whatever you do on your turns doesn't affect me much because you're not attacking me back. So do what you got to do, but I'm attacking you. I love it. That was the inspiration for this deck. I took it to our Discord, which is something that you can get access to if you look up how to do that through Patreon, or our patrons can figure out how to do that. And so thank you to, I'll shout out some of the people who have given me some specific ideas for this deck. But yeah, so I want to feel good about Vigilance. I want to have a bunch of, so I want to feel good attacking because A, our creatures are huge beef sticks, and B, we got Vigilance, so no crackbacks. And Naya just felt like the right combo of colors for this, so I'm going with Samut, Voice of Dissent. 3 red, green, 3/4 legendary human warrior, flash, that's cool. Double strike, Vigilance, and haste. That's a lot. Other creatures you control have haste, not Vigilance, but we'll work on that. White, tap, untap another target creature. So even if we somehow didn't have Vigilance, Samut can untap creatures to sort of simulate Vigilance on some of those things.
Right, cool.
Great. Let's get into some of our neat moves.
Working on a
Neat
moves.
Working on our neat moves.
Yeah, working on these neat moves. First things first, we want to give our team Vigilance, right? Let's work on ways where we spread it around and we give everyone Vigilance. One of the cool ways to do it is with Ajani the Great-Hearted, 2 green-white Planeswalker. Ajani, 5 loyalty. Creatures you control have Vigilance, straight up. +1 also can gain you 3 life, and -2 you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature and a loyalty on each other planeswalker you control. More delicate than the other ways of which we can give Vigilance, although 5 loyalty is nothing to sneeze at. But obviously people can attack a Johnny, but it's tough when your creatures have Vigilance. That's the thing.
Yeah, right?
It's
yeah,
tough.
how are they going to get through?
Yeah.
I'm never tapped, right? Yeah. We also got Loyal Unicorn. This is one of my favorite lieutenants from a recent
I think
Commander
it is my favorite lieutenant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a gumball right now. 3 and a white for a Vigilance Unicorn. Has Vigilance itself, 3/4. And at the beginning of combat, if you have your commander, prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to creatures you control, and other creatures you control gain Vigilance. So not only do you have Vigilance, you can fully attack everybody and not even worry about taking combat damage.
So good. Boros' best friend.
Yeah.
We also have Brave the Sands, which is 1 and a white for an enchantment that says creatures you control have Vigilance, and each creature you control can block an additional creature each combat, which is better than it looks.
Yeah, that's something, especially if you've got Death Touch floating around, which we will. So that now, like, 1 Death Touch creature with 2 power can block 2 creatures and destroy them both.
Very
so yeah.
good. Yeah. Brave the Sands, very cool.
Brave them Sands. And a classic Commander's Brew favorite,
Yeah.
Angelic Skirmisher. 4 white, angel, 4/4 with flying, and at the beginning of combat, you pick one. First strike, Vigilance, or Lifelink, and all creatures you control have that ability. The theme of the deck is to give it Vigilance, so Angelic Skirmisher can do that, but if we've already got a Johnny going around or a Loyal Unicorn with our commander, maybe I'll pick First Strike, maybe I'll pick Lifelink, whatever is the most appropriate.
This card is so good.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
We love this card so much because, like, you're very rarely unhappy to have this card in your hand. And I've been so behind in games before where Angelic Skirmisher has single-handedly, well, not true, not single-handedly, because
You need a couple other hands.
You need some things on the board. But she's come down and totally changed it. Where like now I attack and I got like everything has lifelink and I just gained a bunch of life. Yeah, so my creatures died, but now I'm back in the game life-wise. And now you can sit back and be on defense if that's what you want, or even when she comes down. Vigilance lets you attack and stay on defense. First Strike lets you it's each combat, remember. So if your opponents and they're going to come at you, you always pick First Strike because you can just team block on one thing and just kill it. Like no one attacks you when you have this card, if you have any kind of board, that is.
Yeah.
Love this card.
Love it. And arguably a mascot of the show, Audric, Lunar Marshal. We haven't donned the breastplates and wings in a while, but we love casual cosplaying as the two Audrics. This is Lunar Marshal, the 1 3 and white for a 3/3 legendary human soldier. And at the beginning of each combat, if basically, I'm going to shortcut it. If anyone has a keyword on your board, everyone gets that keyword. Haste, flying, double strike, death touch, hexproof, vigilance mainly, trample, all the good stuff. Everyone shares it.
Very solid with Samut, right? Because
Samut already gives everyone double strike, vigilance, and haste.
No. With Audric. Yeah.
With Audric, Samut just gives everyone haste anyway. And just because we have Audric, I have to highlight Aerial Responder, who's one of our low drops in the deck. 1 white, Dwarf Soldier 2/3, flying, vigilance, lifelink.
Amazing.
We're going to drop this card early, and even if we got nothing else going on, it's early game, we're just going to get in for 2, gain 2 here or there as we build up our board further.
Awesome. What's the next category here?
Next category is called Big Fat Stats. If you're going to give Vigilance to your team, you want some big fat stats to throw around with that Vigilance.
Yeah, for sure. First of all being Avacyn Guardian Angel. Avacyn Guardian Angel is the 2 white Avacyn from M15. She's Legendary Angel 5/4, flying and vigilance. Love it. But you can pay 1 and a white to prevent all damage that would be dealt to another target creature this turn by sources of the color of your choice. Or you can pay 5 white, prevent all damage that would be dealt to target player this turn by sources of the color of your choice. Her big ability makes it very difficult, especially with a lot of vigilance going around, very difficult for your opponents to attack you. And her second ability protects creatures. So you kind of have this threat of activation of like you can't damage me or any of my stuff, basically, which is great.
Yeah, and this, because our commander has flash, there are scenarios where we're holding up enough mana where this threat of activation is real. This deck doesn't run into the same problem some decks do when you want to hold up 7 mana. It's like, well, I didn't get to use it, so I don't get to do anything. It's like, no, I'll flash at my commander if I need to.
Right. That's
another big fat stat is Beacon Behemoth. 3 green for a 5/3 beast. It doesn't have vigilance itself, but you can pay 1 generic. Target creature with power 5 or greater does gain vigilance until end of turn. You can do this for itself if it's the only thing around there. So it sort of has vigilance, but once we have vigilance by our other means, we just don't need to pay for this anymore. So it's just a 5/3 for 5.
Next one's a really cool card from last year's Commander set, I think. Crash of Rhino Beetles.
Yeah.
4 and a green for a 5/5 Trampler. And as Crash of Rhino Beetles gets +10/+10 as long as you control 10 or more lands, which is very easy to do in Commander. A couple ramp spells and you're there. This is a Naya deck. We're not going to have a lot of problems with that. So this is essentially a 15/15 Trampler. And then this deck is essentially a 15/15 Trampler with Vigilance, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. And I love Zatalpa Primal Dawn. Again.
Ooh, Audric's best friend.
Audric's best friend, but also because it was just released in another commander set. This is a 50-cent card. This is a 2 gumball card right now. 6 white. Legendary Elder Dinosaur 4/8. Flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, indestructible. This is a card that demands to attack every turn because there is no consequences. It's there's no reason not to. It flies, so it probably gets through. Double strike and trample and indestructible. Like if they've got blockers, attack anyway.
It doesn't even tap except vigilance. This thing, you just attack with it. It's fine. It'll be fine.
Just keep attacking. Just keep it. And if Audric's around, now everyone does this.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so let's take a look at ways to hold the fort. Right?
Yeah.
Like, would you say there are times when you don't have Vigilance in this deck?
Sometimes. I mean, it can happen.
Right? Not everything's going to go perfectly according to plan. And that's why you get your boy Baird, Steward of Argive, 2 white for the 2/4 Vigilant legendary human soldier. He was our preview card for Dominaria.
Yep.
Creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures, making it even harder to attack into your board. Baird does a lot of work that way.
Baird with me. Also acidic slime, right? A staple in any deck with green in it. 3 green, ooze, 2/2 with death touch. And when it enters, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. It's a good removal spell. And having a 2/2 with vigilance, like death touch and vigilance, is a stunning combination, because I was like, it's going to kill something or do 2 to you. It's like, what do you think? I guess I'll take the 2. It's like, but they can't just take 2 forever. They eventually have to be like, all right, I'll throw away. The only time you don't want to attack with a 2/2 is if they have a basic 2/2 that can trade with it. You want to look for positions where it will trade up.
Yeah. Nightshade Pedaler will do something similar. It's 1 and a green for a 1/1, but it has Soul Bond, and as long as it's paired with another creature, both creatures have Death Touch. Remember back to we were talking about Brave the Sands, right?
Yeah.
So Nightshade Pedaler, just putting it on any 2/2, anything with 2 or more powers, means that's 2 things that it can block with Death Touch, which is really good.
Yeah, and we're going to send the Soul Bonded one. This isn't a case where we won't attack with Nightshade Pedaler. We'll attack with the Soul Bonded one. If your opponents try to eat it, great. We're going to cast another creature and Soul Bond that to it, right?
Exactly,
Or they have to just take the damage, in which case we're like, fine, it's still untapped. It still has Death Touch. It's still a 5/5. What's up?
Kudos on using Nightshade Pedaler in a commander deck. I've seen this card in my own collection many times and been like, this is pretty good. Like,
yeah,
this is not bad, and I've never found the proper deck for it yet. But Nightshade Pedaler is a cool card. I think it definitely is good in this one. Yeah.
So okay, so this is cool. Here's some cool ways that we're going to prevent attacks if our giant beefy creatures with vigilance isn't enough. Those are some ways as well. But I happened to notice that Samut was out in a set that gave us the Exert mechanic. Exert is an ability where it doesn't let you untap for 1 turn while it like recharges itself, while it gets untired from exerting itself. But if we're never tapping, who cares about Exert, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Let's take a look at Combat Celebrant. 2 and a red for a 4/1 human warrior. If it hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it as it attacks. When you do, untap all other creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So, first of all, untapping all our creatures won't matter because they're all untapped anyway, but we get 2 combats. And I'd like to point out that Samut gives all of our creatures haste automatically. So we get to drop Combat Celebrant. If we're in a situation where everything has vigilance, we'll exert it. Maybe it dies. That's okay, because all of our big beefy attackers are going to attack twice with vigilance. And if we have any sort of Audric shenanigans going where now they've also got trample and also got death touch, if there's a loyal unicorn, this Combat Celebrant is living.
Oh, yeah, wow.
And if it does live, we're going to do this every turn it's alive. We're going to get double combat steps as long as we can keep it alive.
Ooh, wow, that's nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's take a look at another exerting creature, Champion of Ronus, 3 and a green for a 3/3. You may exert it as it attacks, and when you do, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield without paying its mana cost. Nothing. Right. Just put it right there. Just drop it. Just cheat.
Whoops, I dropped it out of my hand.
Champion of Ronus, go ahead and cheat.
So you'll notice we had a lot of big things like Zatalpa or whatever. Champion don't care.
Champion don't care. Man, he don't care about that. 8 mana,
care.
He don't care.
He don't care.
Oh, yeah, wow, really good.
There are a few cards with Exert that matters. Andy, can you read this first one, please?
Sure, of course. This one is Hope Tender. 1 and a green for a 2/2. You pay 1 and tap it to untap target land, and you can pay 1 and tap it to exert Hope Tender and untap 2 target lands. So this is one where obviously tapping is part of the cost, so the exerting does make a difference, like you were saying.
Yeah. Right, but Samut gets to untap that with Samut's white ability. I mean, it won't always be like you'll still be able to net with that, right? You can still do that with Samut's manual untapping ability. Similarly, Oasis Ritualist, 3 and a green, 2/4. Naga Druid, tap to add 1 mana of any color, or exert it to add 2 mana of any one color. And we can use that. I mean, it doesn't make a ton of sense to use that 1 white like of the 2 we get to untap it again to add 1. But just if we have any lands, any of our bounce lands that tap for 2, oh no, that's the Oasis anyway.
Yeah.
So
The
we can do it.
Ritualist makes sense, right? Because you add 2 to your pool, you use 1 of it to untap it, and add 2 again. You've made 3.
Yeah.
Instead of just 2.
Yeah. So I mean, Oasis Ritualist just pretty good anyway. But my point is we get to attack with it and then use its mana ability later on after attacks. And of course, Pride Sovereign, 2 and a green. It's a 2/2 cat. It gets +1/+1 for each other cat you control. But white, tap, exert it, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. So lifelink is going to be spread around with Audric. We are going to be able to use this every turn if Samut is up, because we can untap and exert every turn and just keep adding cats. Pretty good deal.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Also some more things that we won't be, or that involve tapping and not tapping. Cryptolith, right? 1 and a green for the enchantment that says creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So like you're saying, we're taking advantage of everything having vigilance, so being able to attack and do this, which is usually that's the payoff, or that's the cost you pay, right? It's like I can't attack, but I'll use them for mana. This way we get best of both worlds, and we are using our little creatures, maybe those little cats that Pride Sovereign's making. They can now tap and be just mana dorks for us. Great. Really cool.
Yeah, and like our commander has flash. So if our commander's not on the board and we're able to just do everything anyway and always have a bunch of mana open for flash spells, our commander's kind of always accessible to us, even after a few kills.
There's also some weird corner cases where being able to just tap a creature is actually really helpful.
That's true.
So Cryptolith Right helps you in those, pretty rare situations, but those situations do come up once in a while.
Yeah, we've got some redundancy for that with Song of Fraley's. That's 1 and a green for the saga. Part 1, as soon as it enters, all your creatures get that Cryptolith Right ability. They can tap for mana. Part 2, on your next turn, they also get the same ability. Part 3, Song of Fraley's goes away, but you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. They gain Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible until end of turn. I don't mind that goes away. I don't mind getting a little bit of ramp from it early for that payoff later on. And especially if I've got Audric around, if I know that's coming, I can haste out Samut as well and get Samut in on the action.
Nice. Yeah, it's just, I think this is a legit commander card, even though it's like temporary, sort of. Like if you just treated it as like a planeswalker that did this, I think you're generally pretty happy with this as if you got this much value out of a 2-mana planeswalker, you'd be happy with that.
Yeah, because I'm not sacrificing my combat step to do this in this deck.
Yeah, exactly. So like paying 1 and a green and getting these effects over 3 turns is really good. And if you think about it in that way, where like these are kind of little planeswalkers, which is what I heard. I think I started doing that when I heard Rosewater's podcast about it, and how like they wanted to make these kind of like they wanted to make planeswalkers, but
yeah, like
or they
this
wanted
was
to make
the
them,
original
yeah,
idea
this
for
was the original work.
planeswalkers.
Yeah, exactly. And if you start looking at them that way, the sagas actually, you're kind of like, oh yeah, like these are great. And then if you never recur them or anything, they're always awesome. So I always love using a saga.
And we got one more.
Yeah, one more here is March of the Multitudes. X green white for the instant with Convoke, where we create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. Very cool. This one given to us by JP on Discord. Love it. Get in there and help us brew these decks, because telling us about cards like this is why we do it. March is just a great card. If you're looking to make tokens, I mean, the instant speed versions of these X spells are where you want to be. And this one's a little more expensive because of the extra 3, but that's where the Convoke comes in. Convoke can totally make up for that 3, like the green, white that we have to pay, and basically turn this into an even better version of, what's the card? That's X white. Just make warriors.
It's not Brave the Sands, but it's got sands in it.
Yeah.
Something about sands.
Anyways, that's a really great creature token creator, again, because of the instant speed. So March of the Multitudes is right up there with it in my books. And how much is this card?
This, like, price-wise, $250.
Not bad, not bad. I was seeing a little bit of play in Standard for a while, but not anymore, so.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so that's the gist of the deck. We burned through it, but like, this is about giving ourselves vigilance, feeling free to attack, and all that fun stuff. But I did have a surprising discovery.
Oh, yeah, okay.
When I was searching with Scryfall to, like, look up cards with vigilance on it, Andy, why don't you read what this card does, and I'll explain how it fits in. Yeah,
Scorned Villager. 1 and a green for a 1/1, and that taps to add green to your mana pool. She's a human werewolf, and at the beginning, it has the werewolf text. So at the beginning of your upkeep, at the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast this turn, transform Scorned Villager, and she transforms into Moon-Scarred Werewolf, which is a 2/2 werewolf with vigilance, and taps to add 2 green mana to your mana pool. And then, of course, at the beginning of your upkeep, if a player casts 2 or more spells last turn, transform Moon-Scarred Werewolf.
Right.
The downside of these cards is always that you always want them to be the flipped version, right. But you can't reliably keep them as the flipped version. But Scorned Villager is one where, like, if you're just looking to add a mana dork, like, you just get basically, like, Llanowar Elves, obviously not as good because it's 2 mana, but, like, pretty close. And then randomly it is sometimes better, where now it adds 2 and has vigilance, right?
Yeah, and I want to point out how this interacts in a Samut deck, because, again, any deck where we want to hold up mana, so the most reliable way to transform cards by not casting spells is when you don't cast spells. But it sucks not to cast spells because you're not developing your board. But if I'm planning on playing Samut on an end step of my opponent's, I won't cast anything on my turn. Scorned Villager transforms and now taps for 2 mana. So now I'm in a position where if someone threatens to transform it back and I need every piece of mana to get Samut out, maybe I'll flash in Samut just before it transforms back into the other thing. Or if it does make it around the table somehow, then I'll just cast Samut for the 5, this being part of it. So it's kind of a discount on one Samut activation.
So I will say this, though. I used to have this card in a deck, and I took it out because almost always one of the 3 players that are my opponents are going to cast 2 spells in a turn. So
sure.
I mostly found that when it came back to my turn, this was just a regular mana dork, which is fine. And like you're saying, though, if you're looking to hold up mana, not only can you flip it with your turn, but using the 2 mana to cast the instant spell or use the activated ability, you're actually using it before it gets to flip back, right? So, in this deck, it looks way more like it's well positioned in this deck, whereas I think it looks like this card would be good in any deck, and I don't think that's true. But I think in a case like this, it is actually good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's
I like
cool.
it.
Neat. Well, I mean, we did the surprise discovery. That means it's time for the budget report. We didn't start the fire.
Well, we didn't start the fire, but we do put cards in decks, and all of the cards that cost more than their vigilance we keep, and if they have to tap, they go to the garbage. I'm talking about coins.
Okay, we didn't start that metaphor either.
That was one of the weakest ones we've ever done. I'll admit that. Yes. So I ran this deck through, and this deck is a mid-price deck. If you look at the TCG market price, this deck comes in at $88.64. But if we go to the low price, this is already under $50. The TCG low is $44.49.
Nice.
But you might be surprised at how we can make this even cheaper, because I had no idea. I'm thinking about Naya. I'm thinking about Vigilance. Of course, I'm thinking about my boy Zakama Primal Calamity, which unfortunately is, for budget players, is up to $16-17.
Wow.
The low is 11, but the mid is like 15, 16, $17. It's worth every penny, I think, if you want. Like it's a powerful magic card. 6 red, green, white, legendary, elder dinosaur, 9/9, vigilance, reach, and trample. And when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you can untap all of the lands you control. And it's got 3 abilities: 2 in a red, 3 damage to target creature; 2 in a green, Did I say 3 in a red? I meant 2 in a red.
Yeah.
They're all 3 total. 2 in a red,
Yeah.
3 damage to a creature. 2 in a green, destroy an artifact or enchantment. 2 in a white, gain 3 life. All repeatable, no taps. We're Vigilance anyway, you get our mana back. Very expensive card, so we're probably going to cut it. And this is now like a $35 deck.
Amazing.
Second most expensive card. We're mostly Naya. We are Naya, but we're mostly green and white. There's not a ton of red, so red is the least represented color. So Karametra, God of Harvest, 3 white, green, 6/7 indestructible. It's a god, legendary enchantment. So it's got the devotion thing. So if you have 7 green and white pips cumulatively, it is a creature. If you have less than that, it is not a creature. And whenever you cast a creature spell, we've got quite a few of them, you may search your library for a forest or plains, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. It turns all of your creatures into ramp spells, but just basic plains and basic forests. Well, it doesn't have to be basic.
No,
just
it doesn't have to be
forest
basic,
or plains, right. I don't have a lot of those that aren't basic, but this is, again, a great way to just get a ton of lands out as we go. But this is an $8 card. The mid price is $8. It's worth it, but, it's pricey.
Here, Sean, maybe you're like me, and whenever you see forest or plains card, you're like, oh yeah, shocklands, and then you're kind of like, yeah, but like, I have a couple shocklands, but I don't have them all, and I don't have dual lands, so forget it.
Yeah.
But there's actually a bunch of cheap options for these types of cards, right? Like, don't forget about the deserts. The deserts from Amonkhet are not expensive. Same as the there were ones from Shadows over Innistrad, which are like you had to reveal a card or something like that. But there's more options than you would think for budget players for lands that are both basic kinds but are not basic lands.
You know what? I just looked. I used our Scryfall tips we discussed in a recent discussion for T:forest, T:land, USD less than 1. These are all the less than $1 cards that have forest in their land type. You got your gingerbread cabin from the new set.
Yeah.
You got Sap Seep Forest. It enters tapped, and you can just pay green to gain a life if you have 2 or more green permanents. But you can tutor that one up. And, this one does not ID. I didn't do the ID thing. So this is Abzan ID. Murmuring Bosk is not
forest,
in our colors. But, I'll do that with Mountain. Yeah, so you're right. We can look for many more forests and plains that are not. And I can search by price.
Yeah, and you can you can use this to fix again. Take a look at those Amonkhet deserts. They're not that expensive, and it's always good to nab a couple of them, before they do jump up there. So it's nice. Speaking of that, I remember a time when this card was not the $5 card it is now. Cryptolith, right? I mentioned it earlier. The one in the green enchantment that creatures tap to give you a mana of any color. I remember it spiked in standard and then it dropped to like very low, and that was a good time to pick them up, because now it's still pretty good. It's still just under $5, around $4.50. So
yeah,
if you can get it. But otherwise, yeah, this is the third most expensive card in the deck.
Yeah, so I like Cryptolith, right? But we've got Song of Fraley's as a substitute. Zakam is super fun but easily cuttable. Karametra, fantastic ramp, but I don't mind cutting it. Like if you want to save
Man, even that card being $8 is surprising to me, because I remember we've been big on Karametra for a long time on this show.
So this deck is probably $25 low, something like that. It's getting low. You can put this together cheap.
What about favorite cards? I really like the inclusion of Rishkar's Expertise. This is just a tough one to argue with in any green deck. 4 green for the sorcery. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. That's 9 cards if we kept Zakama in, and we have Zakama out. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So these were so great for Commander, because not only do we get to do this powerful thing where we draw a bunch of cards, but we're not we immediately get to put something out as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so good. Rishkar's Expertise is, I would argue, a staple in green for Commander.
Yeah, depending
on the colors you're pairing it with, but yes.
And this is a surprise, not a surprise. This is my favorite card, and it was pointed out from someone in our Discord. So thank you to Razenberry, from one of our patrons. Thank you in the Discord for that. And again, I'd love to see more people in there chatting about decks, helping us like evolve these and finding like little bonuses. This card is, I mean, arguably this might not be the best deck for it, but I'm in love with this card. Misako the Humorless. I mean, I love a sense of humor, but like, so the fact that that she's humorless
it's a bummer.
It's a bummer. 2 and a white, 2/1 flash, human advisor, legendary. Tapped creatures you control can block as though they were untapped. So it's like surprise secret vigilance. We probably have vigilance. We're probably not going to be tapped. But if there's ever a time where I'm like, oh no, everyone is tapped. And then everyone's like, okay, cool. I'll attack with everybody. Oh no, flash in Misako the Humorless. And now I'm still blocking.
Weird. I like, it's always weird to see a card that like just tells you that a rule is now different. You know?
Yeah.
Like a known rule is now just different. Blocking creatures can block now.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's an interesting bit of design space you've ventured into there. Feels like they don't like to do this type of thing that often anymore. Like Kamigawa was a weird set for that. That's where the set where there's a card that's like the legend rule doesn't apply. It's like, well, you reference a specific rule? Like,
yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
But this is a neat card. Very cool.
I would love to see a card that says like, while this card is untapped, Rule 603.02 does not apply.
Does not apply. I mean, that's kind of what it could have. The other, like text, the proper text of that card, the legend one, should say kind of.
Yeah.
Neat. Well, what a cool man. Vigilance is, as we always say, one of the best abilities in Commander. It's certainly the most underrated of the ever-rated abilities for Commander. It's so great, and I love this style of deck. I love it. A new spin on just like a creature-based attacking deck. I'm into that. I'm looking for that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go into it, but I do know this is a creature strategy, so I'm certainly running those white instants that give everyone indestructible or like save them from board wipes. And again, holding up mana, because we're holding up mana for Samut, that is a thing this deck can also do. So I think it's a pretty fun one.
Definitely do that too. If you have those cards, you know, you're
okay, Unbreakable Formation is my new favorite
Unbreakable
one.
Formation, Rootborn Defenses was the original for us.
But Make a Stand.
If you have those cards, like these are the decks that they shine in, because they essentially become counter spells for board wipes, as you know, but they turn board wipes into one-sided board wipes for you.
Yeah.
It's even better. Anyway,
Yeah.
we talk about that all the time, but I just wanted to point it out again. And they're great in these types of decks, and they allow these decks to exist. So
yeah, we've got like Unbreakable Formation came out in Guilds of Ravnica as a rare, but we've got 3 like common or uncommon ones now. Rootborn Defenses, Make a Stand. Oh no, I guess I was counting Unbreakable Formation as that as well.
Either way, just including the 2 common ones, you're happy.
If you got some money, throw in a Boros Charm. If you got some money, throw
There's also
in
the green one, right?
Heroic Intervention. That's a little pricey, but like you've got like creature-based strategies in Naya are safe.
Yeah. Safe. I recently said that to someone and they were like, "Don't you mean sick? Like, you're saying that like you mean to say like sick." It's like, no. In high school, some people I know said safe.
I love it.
Our American listeners are thoroughly confused because I feel like there's nothing like that there. That's a Canadian thing.
Nothing like that.
Bam. But that's it. That's it for this week. Very cool deck, Sean. Very excited to see it in person, perhaps.
It is very possible. I mean, we're brewing like with Battle of the Brews coming out as it does.
Yeah, we're on the clock.
We're on the we got to brew a lot of decks, and the only way to make it feasible is to start putting some of these decks on the show into that show. Otherwise, we're brewing 8 decks a month.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, look for it. Check out Battle of the Brews on YouTube. Go check out MTG Canada / Wizards Tower if you're in Canada to order your cards, and otherwise in the States, TCGplayer is a great place to go. Check out our affiliate link, both in our show notes of the podcast and below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We love you guys very much. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCGplayer affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.